Hello, and welcome back to Shatter Our Souls with Novaria. And welcome to the 12th episode of Metroid Mondays. So, a little bit has come to light this today, and if the title isn't obvious, we're going to be tackling the Omega Pirate today. Now, admittedly, there's going to be a couple things that I want to get into. First and foremost, I'd love to kind of touch base here regarding the Metroid captivity location. So, we know that the impact crater was slowly leaching Phazon into its surroundings. This is not part of the impact crater itself, and yet is brimming or overflowing with Phazon energy. This suggests that despite all efforts, regardless of what happens, if Phazon is not eradicated from Talon 4, that it will slowly but surely destroy the planet. That's my understanding of it, at least. Second piece of information that is of note comes in the form of a small window that can be seen about 3/4 of the way, or about halfway through. Sorry. And this small window shows just how close we actually are to the impact crater. Now, at one point or another, I believe I talked a little bit about the red phazon that shows up in the end portion of Prime here, in the impact crater itself. So, while looking into it, it kind of came to light that it could be ultra compact or dense phazon that is more volatile than prior expectancy. However, the other version of it is that there are different strains of phazon, if that makes sense to the viewers here. Effectively, phazon does not exist as a single organism. Rather, than that, it exists on a spectrum or as different versions of a similar creature or being. So the blue phazon would be one strain, red phazon another, and so on and so forth. And what kind of confuses me as a general statement is how Samus is actually able to incorporate phazon into the Varia suit. Now, it isn't explicitly stated. Rather, it's more hinted at that the result of the Omega Pirate falling on top of Samus and leaching pure phazon into its surroundings ended up causing this circumstance. I believe, from my perspective, is that it the phazon existed within a relative symbiosis or in a relatively stable form for a long period of time prior to this event, and thus was less volatile or less dangerous at the point in time when Samus integrated it into the power suit. At least that is my best guess on the matter. And all honesty, I don't know how I feel about it. On one hand, it seems the most reasonable, but on the other hand, it's questionable as to its validity. What I can state for certain is that this area as a whole, while it lacks some of the traditional charm that we find in some of the earlier sections of the game, it does make up for it in a number of, or due to its unique platforming challenges. I gotta give it credit for that. It's where it's due. Other thing of note is that we are now starting to deal with Metroid hatchers. Now, in Prime 3, Metroid hatchers had a harder outer carapace and were able to create Metroids virtually on a whim. These ones are much the same as their Prime 3 counterparts, except much squishier, and are not effectively treated as a mini-boss. So there's that. And I admit, at this moment in time, that I'm scared going forward. The Omega Pirate has always been one of my two weakest bosses in Prime 1. And part of it is just its aggression, part of it is its duration. In no particular order, because it is hard to deal appropriate damage to the enemy in a reasonable span of time, regardless of what weapon you're using, it becomes a battle of attrition, so to speak, where the player and the beastie, or the Omega Pirate, are just trying to manage who can last the longest. Not so much that each of them are capable of handling the whole situation on their own. Effectively, either one could technically or theoretically win. Who does is determined primarily by their health pool. At least in my experience. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. However, there's a couple other pieces to note. And that is that to be able to defeat the Omega Pirate with any level of consistency, shall we say, there needs to be an understanding of sorts that the player should hold absolutely nothing back. To that end, when I reach the next save point, there's going to be a glitch in the audio visual, and it's going to sound like I'm starting up again. And that's because I do. I need the required material to be able to beat the Omega Pirate properly. And unfortunately, that meant that I had to grind for some consumables to make sure I had what I needed. Is it functional without? Absolutely. But I'm also not good at video games. So, like, I want to make sure that I can actually get through this, and preferably one, maybe two pieces. So, on the topic of the original Phazon suit, or of the Phazon suit, it turns out that the version we got is not the original version that was created. Now, it is possible by hacking your game to gain access to the Phazon suit as early as the frigate Orpheon. However, the glitched Phazon suit, as it is typically called, is a very different beast to what we end up with. The shoulder pads are still purple. It has a unearthly light blue glow, similar to that of Phazon, or similar to that of Phazon itself. Where it differs primarily, however, is in its central points. The waist, stomach, inner thigh, and upper chest sections of the, we'll call it beta version of this suit, are all green, like a sickly green. Now, what I think this is referring to is just that Samus is corrupted and ill. And I think that's a fair statement to come across. But the thing is that apparently the design was changed to the black, silver, and red that we got due to time constraints, playing with shaders, and ironically because they wanted it to look more evil, as Phazon in and of itself is an inherently aggressive the effects of Phazon cause aggression and irritability as well as increased destructive power. Therefore, with that in mind, the final version was to show that off. Now, personally, I believe that the version that we got looks amazing. But I almost want to see the beta version come up in some form later on. It actually does look pretty darn awesome. Now, there is a couple other small details that I want to bring up about the Phazon suit. And that is actually referring to Prime 3. I know, I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but bear with me. Both Prime 3 and Prime 1 have a version of a Phazon infused suit. This being the PED and the Phazon suit. Now, the Phazon suit itself seems to have no ill effects due to its relative stability for Samus as a whole. However, relative stability or no, it could have lasting effects if used for long durations, similar to the PED. Unfortunately, by the time Samus actually gets to Bryo and actually gets to use the PED properly, more time has passed than between the technical creation of the original Phazon suit and its future version as well. And its eventual end use. And as stated, I had to make sure that I had what I needed. Now, I did grind up so I have at least 5 power bombs. And there is a reason, a method to my madness, if you will. First and foremost, I mentioned maximal battle power and battle strength in whatever circumstance I get into. The reason behind wanting this maximal setup is because the Phazon Omega Pirate is way more potent than I would like. And the easiest way to deal damage to it is with power bombs. So there are 3 parts to the battle, or 3 different stages in each portion of the battle. There is a battle with the Omega Pirate itself in full armor. There is a battle with various elemental pirates. They each have a different weapon that they are weak to. And there is the actual portion that deals damage to the Omega, which is once all the armor has been removed, then Samus can actually deal damage to his core. The core itself is the only weak point. So, knowing that, the goal is, effectively, to come out, or to reach the pirate, drop a power bomb. Hopefully destroy all 4 sections of armor in one go. Destroy 2 of the adds that spawn in, and then unload at least 2 super missiles into the core. That at least will be my aim for the rotation here. So, power bomb, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. He drops to his knees, and we start phase 2. Phase 2 of rotation, we get 2 of the lighter pirates. We duke it out, turn one of them into a very nice candlelit dinner. And melt the second. Back down to base weapon. 1 and 2. And with that, he is officially down, resets the cycle. Now, I like this battle. For all intents and purposes, it is one of the best showcases of the technology and the prowess of the space pirates. Because in the beginning of the game, we got to see their technology in use in form of creating the Parasite Queen. But the Parasite Queen, compared to the Omega Pirate, are two very different beasties. The Omega still has his mind intact. He is still able to battle with strategy, call for reinforcements, use the dual mortar cannons, reflect and protect itself using its I want to call it like a wormhole generator on its hand, but now to think about it, I don't actually have an answer. Effectively, this guy is capable of so much more than your average enemy, and is the pinnacle of the Phazon-infused enemies until we deal with Prime. Now, I admit, wholeheartedly, this is actually my second attempt fighting this guy. I will be showcasing my original attempt. It's just I want to wait until after battling the Prime and use it as more as a bonus episode, if you're interested. That's kind of neither here nor there, however. But because of the high material necessity in this battle, it just makes sense to me to have or to unload everything in stages. Oh, that's a good one. Really? Yeah, or not. We're just going to turn him into a popsicle. Now, I believe that the Phazon suit was going to be much more detrimental to Samus than the game lets you believe, or lets us believe. It is, in my opinion, the stronger version between the PED and the Phazon suit itself. But it's stronger because of its corruption, not because of its actual capabilities. It is able to defend against Phazon, similar to how a PED suit would. But what really sets them apart is the negative drawback that comes with the PED suit, where Samus effectively has to use it sparingly if at all, simply to make sure that she is capable of surviving what happens on a biological system. All this being said, I think it's going to be a lot more of the same, so to speak. Pirates down. I think we got one more cycle after this. Get the fire started. Burn! Burn! Overall, between the 3 different final suit upgrades, my favorite, by a fair amount, is the light suit from Prime 2. And it's not even close. The Phazon suit looks nice, but is technically just a shader pack. The suit from Prime 3 is a a dark gray or purple and light blue, which looks amazing in and of itself, but it doesn't really set itself apart from some of the suits that are earlier on in the franchise. But the light suit, the only suit the Samus has ever had that is effectively pure white, is absolutely beautiful. And the history and the lore that goes behind it is also well thought out. The perfect fusion of Luminoth and Chozo technology in order to defend against an extra-dimensional threat. They went hard with that one. Anywho, what's your favorite of the three final suits? The PED Hazard suit, the light suit, or the Phazon suit? Let me know down in the comments, because I'm sure that everybody has their own opinion, and I'll be honest, every opinion has ample reason to be right. I'd love to hear what people think from a design perspective, because ultimately, we're all in this together, right? Anywho, as soon as his shoulder pops like a balloon, pop the shoulder out of... Quit using that magnet thing. There we go, we popped his shoulder like a balloon. And with that, we have the final round 2. Who's joining me this time? We have 2 ice and a power beam. What am I doing? Just drop a power ball. Poof, poof, and poof. And this is why power bombs are so extremely powerful. And with that, the battle is over. If you like what you see, drop a like in the comments, leave a subscribe. Drop a like, leave a comment, or subscribe. Until next time, I hope you have a good one.